Hey everybody, welcome to your own channel CABA Infoventry. This is Brajesh here. My dear friends, in the first part of this video, I discussed with you the various aspects relating to the liability of education Cess as business expenditure from your business income under income tax. The link for that video is given here. You may watch that video by clicking the above link. The taxpayer contended before the High Court that the term any tax or rate does not include cess, and therefore cess would be allowed as a deduction against its business income. However, the tax department stand was that cess is inherently included in the scope of expression any rate or tax, and therefore should not be allowed as a deduction. Keep watching this video till end to take the full benefit on this issue and understand that how you can claim the education cess as business expenditure under income tax from your business income and thereby reduce your income tax liability legally. The High Court ruled in favor of the taxpayer and noted the Income Tax Bill 1961, which introduced section 48(2) into the Income Tax Act, contained the expression cess, rate or tax, and therefore specifically included cess as an item separate from tax. However, the Select Committee of the Parliament categorically omitted the term cess under the final provisions of the Income Tax Act. This issue has also been dealt with in a circular issued by the Central Board of Direct Taxes, White Circular dated 18th May 1967, which specifically refers to the omission of the term cess made by the Select Committee of the Parliament as discussed by me just now, and states that the effect of the omission of the word cess is that only taxes are to be disallowed. Referring to the judicial precedents that discuss the various principles for interpreting taxing statutes, the High Court observed that the legislature could have included a reference to cess in the provisions, and the non-inclusion of the same shows the intention to allow such cess as deduction. A deduction in relation to cess was therefore allowed to the taxpayer in this case, that is Cess Agarwal Limited. It is important to note here that a circular issued by the Central Board of Direct Taxes is binding on tax authorities, especially when the circular confers some benefits upon the taxpayers. Also, the Central Board of Direct Taxes, by this circular of the year 1967 on this issue, also advised the income tax authorities to take note of this issue and avoid further litigation on this issue. If a deduction in relation to cess is being claimed, several other nuances would also need attention, such as whether the deduction would be allowable on accrual basis or on a payment basis. As regards its scope, as deduction is available against the business income of the taxpayer, the deduction claimed should be restricted to cess paid on the business income of the taxpayer. In the absence of any claim made in the income tax return for the earlier years, the permissibility of claiming the same by way of additional grounds in ongoing tax proceedings may be the way out if otherwise feasible. While these decisions are a positive development providing some cheers to taxpayers, still it would be important to examine and seek guidance from other provisions under the Income Tax Act as well as judicial precedents in which the term tax has been defined or referred to, and whether such provisions create a distinction between tax and cess. In this regard, it would be important to note that the Honorable Supreme Court, in the case of Srinivasan case law, in a different context regarding the tax payable on salary income earned by the taxpayer, held that the term income tax payable includes surcharge and additional surcharge. It is important to note that cess being introduced as an additional surcharge. Further, several decisions in the context of the definition of tax in tax treaties observe that cess is nothing but a surcharge. Apart from judicial precedents, some additional factors which should be borne in mind in relation to cess: whether it forms part of the taxes in this context, that no separate mode of collection or recovery of cess has been prescribed under the Income Tax Act, and the provisions applicable to income tax would apply to cess also. A point also requiring keen attention is whether cess can be considered as an expense incurred in connection with business, or can one contend that cess is an application of income earned by a business and not as such an expense incurred for the business. Whether these aspects may blur the line of distinction between cess and tax. On an overall basis, the decision of Bombay High Court and Rajasthan High Court are definitely welcome development and provide taxpayers with the means to claim a deduction in relation to cess. On the question of how the deduction is to be worked out is highly controversial, because cess will be calculated once you determine your actual business tax liability, and if you claim cess as deduction, then your tax liability will go down, and consequently cess payable will also go down. And this is an unending process, and it is anybody's guess how to come out of this vicious circle, because you keep on claiming education cess as deduction and your tax liability will go down. Another important aspect requiring consideration is that timing and manner of claiming this deduction in relation to the tax year for which the income tax return has already been filed. Suggestion for those who have already not claimed education cess as business deduction in their original return of income, then you may either revise your return for claiming the education cess as allowable expenditure if the time for revising the return has already not expired, or already you may claim the education cess in your either pending assessment proceedings or pending appeal proceedings by way of filing additional ground either before the AO or appellate authorities for allowing the education cess as a business expenditure. Therefore, you may consider for claiming this deduction of education cess in your open assessments, considering the fact that the claim is backed by judicial precedents, and even if reversed later on by the Honorable Supreme Court, then it shall not be liable for penal consequences. On the question of that in which year education cess should be claimed as business expenditure by you, normally education cess has to be claimed in the year of accrual, that is the year to which it pertains. While this judgment of Cess has been rendered in the context of education cess and higher and secondary education says the principle would equally hold good for health and education says as well. This judgment has opened Pandora box, and it shall be interesting to see how revenue deals with the complications arising from this decision. Keep watching this channel for more interesting videos shortly. Stay safe and healthy. Bye bye.